Bum bum bum. Ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Rum bum 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 bum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, friends. Hi, Pamela and Lynn from Los Angeles, and Vernice from Ohio, and Marty. Happy Monday. So good to see all of you from Ontario. There's Nally or Nayli. I think it's Nally, maybe. Nice name, very pretty. Hello. Hi, Phyllis from Oklahoma, and Harry. Yes, it's time. Hello, Joette. Hi, Perry. Hi, Mighties. Hi, Harry. My favorite part is Joette singing her song. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for saying. Well, good afternoon. Good evening. And from Australia, Tara says good morning. And hello again from Oklahoma, someone else from Oklahoma. So nice to see you all, friends. It's great to see you every Monday night. I appreciate your confidence in me. I appreciate your coming every week. Many of you come every single week. And we do one thing here, and one thing only, and that is we discuss homeopathy. I teach you what I know, and I like to see that you are helping each other. Hi, Alice from Toronto, and Lottie from Louisiana. Happy to see you always from Michigan, says Linda. Oakville, Ontario, says Zelda. Thank you. It's so nice to see. Hi, Fernicia. Hi, Donna from Sebastian, Florida. Great to see everyone. I know you are here every week, Donna. It's great. So my name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time to do that one thing, and that is to teach you homeopathy. For those who don't know me, and for those who do know me, thanks for returning, friends. It's great to see you all. All right. What do we do when a wonderful synthetic drug of commerce is being questioned or being taken off the market? What do we do? Well, we happily live without. There's nothing better than to see something like this happen. And so those people who are dependent on meds, such as acetaminophen, Tylenol, what it does is the way that we've all gotten here tonight, and even before tonight, is that we have suffered. I mean, you don't come skipping into homeopathy. You come dragging and crawling into homeopathy. And so because we've all suffered, we've had to come up with solutions. The only ones who are coming here who have not suffered are those whose parents figured it all out early on. And then I got to say that most people are not interested unless they are suffering. It's why study health? Why learn anything how to deal with this condition or that condition if you don't have it? I remember years ago, I had pretty comfortable health. I still had allergies, but it was somewhat comfortable in my 20s. And I remember people being interested in the subject of health, and I was not. It just didn't even cross my mind that it would be something that could be of use to me. So it's when something goes wrong, our drug of choice is gone, or we've learned that it's very problematic, that we learn that there's got to be another way. And so that's what we love here. So now that we know that something is a problem, now we want to know what else to use instead of it. What do we use instead of a pain reliever that has been on the market for quite some time? I have to say that, remember when EpiPens were taken off the market? And it was for about months, I think, maybe a year. And the discussion was they were going to put something else back on the market. And I can't remember the price. Some of you are going to remember this. But remember how an EpiPen cost about $25 or something. And when they took it off the market and when it was returned, came under a new name, and then it was, I don't know, $900. They just enhanced it. And so a lot of people came to me and said, what am I supposed to do? I can't get an EpiPen. What if I have an anaphylaxis reaction? And that's when they start questioning, what do I do instead? And so I told them to consider learning about Apis mellifica, one of our great medicines for anaphylaxis. There are a couple others as well, but Apis is the number one that I always think of. So here we go again. Now, what are these poor pregnant women going to do when they have pain? It forces them through the eye of the needle, and there we are. Here we are. And we're happy to say that there are homeopathic solutions. I'm holding my glasses because I just got these. Actually, I bought them years ago, but I just had the lenses put in, and I don't think they're tight enough. If I had another pair, I would switch them out. So that's why I'm holding them like this. So what I do is I teach you how to consider what medicines for what conditions. And so there is no broadband remedy for all pain homeopathically. Doesn't exist. We know that arnica can be useful for certain kinds of pains, but not all pain. We know that hypericum can be used for pain, but not all pain. It's only certain kinds of pain. We know simicifuga can be useful. We know chamomilla can be useful. We know megphos can be used. But the beauty of homeopathy is that it's very specific. Actually, some people might find that to be bothersome, but I'm going to tell you, I don't see it as bothersome. It forces us to get more involved and learn this medicine. Because without this medicine, my friends, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what my family and I would do. I don't know. My clients, my students. I'm not sure where I would go with all of this. Because before I found homeopathy, I was using essential oils, botanicals, vitamins, supplements, dietary changes, and I suppose each one of them, except maybe the vitamins. I'm not a fan of synthetic vitamins. But each one of them offered a little bit, but nothing like what homeopathy is capable of doing. So I'm going to look right now at page 2369, if you happen to have the Meta Repertory by Robin Murphy. This is the 4th edition. And if you don't have it, it's not a problem. I'm just going to read to you a section called, in the clinical section, called just pains. What are the medicines that we should be using for pain? I'm going to show you what our choices are. These are not sentences, my friends, right here. That's a list of homeopathic medicines. Here, and it goes all the way over to here. These are all homeopathic medicines that can be considered for pain. And so our job as an educated person to know how to take care of ourselves and our families is to know which medicines are used under what circumstances. So the big ones, the top ones are agaricus, arsenicum, belladonna, bryonia, chamomilla, colocynthus, hypericum. Arnica's not even one of the big ones. Oh, yes, it is. Excuse me. It is arnica. But it's not underlined. Hypericum, I said. Kali sulfur, we've got, let's see, we can even go into the next page. Calmia, Nux vomica, Meterinum, Megphos, Lycopodium. Okay, now which goes with what? So I want to hear what you've got, and then I'm going to also go to this other segment, which I've also pointed out in the past, and that is on page 2372. We have a section in the clinical section called intolerable pain. Not just any pain, intolerable pain. And then we have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Only 11 medicines from which to choose. Rather interesting, isn't it? Because intolerable pain is different than just pain, right? So now we're going to be talking about specific uses for specific pains. And I want to hear what you've got to say about pain, because I know that you're going to remember some that I'm not going to think of. Because I'm doing this, to be honest, I'm doing much of this extemporaneously because I should have jotted some down, but I had a very busy day today, and I'm sorry I didn't get to it. But I know that you're going to fill in where I leave off. So let's go with the first medicine, right? One of the first ones everyone thinks of, and that's arnica. because arnica has such broad reach. It has such a sweeping application that it is a great medicine to consider for many different circumstances. Generally, it's for an injury, but it can also be for overuse, which in a way is kind of an injury, overuse of muscles, etc. It can be great. Arnica, and I'm talking about right now, and let's just talk about it in a 200 potency. Arnica is incredible for labor pain, soft tissue pain, when the seatbelt is across the front of the body and the person gets into an accident, the seatbelt hits hard against the breasts. Arnica montana. We've got other ones. If arnica doesn't act fast enough, we go right to Bellus piranus. So Bellus piranus is also for soft tissue injuries and pain. So now we're talking about kind of injuries. Let me also talk about bryonia. 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 It doesn't have to be an injury, but bryonia is a medicine that we use for pain when there is an injury, particularly when, let's see if you know. How do we know when to use bryonia? I know you're going to know this. Is meterinum on the intolerable pain list? Asks Susie. No, it isn't. It is not. It is not considered basically a pain medicine for at least intolerance. Okay. What was my question? Bryonia. Pamela says, hurts with each movement. Caitlin says, worse from movement. Dolly says, injury to the breast. Yes, it can also be that. Bryonia is great for the breast. That's right. Hurts from movement. Worse from movement. Worse from movement. Hurts from movement. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. So what does that mean, worse from movement? Well, it could be a headache. Bryonia is a great headache remedy. It's one of our best. It's a great headache remedy, especially if the person moves their head or even just their eyes. It's worse for movement. It doesn't tell us what kind of movement. It just says movement. It doesn't tell us what part of the body it is. It's just worse for movement. So whether it's the head moving, the body moving, the eyes moving, that's worse for movement. A broken bone. If you break your bone, guess what hurts? Movement. Bryonia. If we think also of bryonia for back that's gone out, just as long as the person can stay still, it's acceptable. But as soon as they go into movement, ow, bryonia. Okay, I want you. This is such a valuable medicine to remember. Now, bryonia is not necessarily our first medicine for headaches. We have others. So good. Look at you all. Yeah, there you go. Donna says, I just used bryonia after my surgery and I had no post-surgical pain. Absolutely. It's beautiful. Yes, it is amazing. It is amazing. And so it confounds those who are accustomed to giving something like Tylenol out or worse, much, much more intense. By the way, I have to say, years ago it was determined that Tylenol was implicated in causing asthma. And it doesn't mean, especially in children, but it didn't mean that that it was, you had to take a lot of it or all at once, or you had to take it frequently over a period of weeks or days. No, it was showing up, asthma was occurring and also would cause a chronic aspect of asthma, meaning they took the Tylenol once and it caused asthma shortly after, one dose. And after that, they had now caused chronic asthma. One dose. Now, I don't believe that was as common as we might think, but it was an issue. It certainly was an issue. And it's something that I've told people about for a long time. Stay away from it. You don't have to have had asthma before because it inspires, it causes the asthma. This is awesome and amazing, Donna. Yeah. Oh, Donna, you're sweet. I wouldn't be able to do this without Joette. So glad we're talking about this tonight. I've had a splitting headache all day, and finally worked for me. Oh, gelsemium finally worked for me. Very good. Gelsemium. Gelsemium is also a very good medicine for headaches. But our top medicine, generally speaking, if it is a remedy, a condition in which the pain is extraordinary or there's ocular disturbances before, as in a migraine. And I have to say, parenthetically, friends, a lot of people think that a migraine is simply a very painful headache. It is a painful headache, but that's not all it is. Migraine is a very specific type of headache that often has ocular disturbances. Every sound, every smell, every light is bothersome, and it's often vascular. So in that case, the Banerjee protocol for that kind of a headache is picric acid mixed with belladonna. Okay, let's just see. Tyler was pushed upon my parents when aspirin was linked to Ray's syndrome. In hindsight, was that just a great marketing campaign? Who knows, Melissa? I mean, it's all marketing. It's all marketing. One of my daughters is having headaches with wisdom teeth growing in. She is using Chamomilla 200 and Spigelia 200 with pretty good results. Absolutely. So Chamomilla is one of our medicines here that is under the intolerable pain. Chamomilla is one of our big ones, and it's excellent for wisdom teeth. Let's put it this way: teething. Teething can be in a young child, a toddler. Teething can be painful at about 7 years old when the teeth are coming in. Teething can be for an adult who's getting their wisdom teeth in. Chamomilla, often 200C, that's my favorite choice. Chamomilla 200C, excellent. Spigelia is a great remedy for pain, especially in the sinuses or around the eyes, in which it feels like, and I love this term, feels like an ice pick is being driven in through the eye. An ice pick? Where would you get an idea like that? Well, remember, friends, homeopathy's been around for a long time, while they were still using ice to cool their refrigerators. So an ice pick would not be an uncommon implement in any household. So I've had it described to me. It feels like an ice pick has been driven through my eye. Now, if they don't use that, they're not going to say ice pick. They might say stabbing pain, extreme pain into the eye, and it's usually more on one side than the other. Anybody know which side it is for the Spigelia pain in the eye? Let's see if anyone knows. The way you know, how would you know? How would you know? Which eye was the most likely one to be affected when they get Spigelia pain? Spigelia pain. My neurologist recommended arnica years ago for nerve pain in my neck, and it was very effective. A neurologist. Wow, Angela, you've got a good doctor there. Left for Spigelia. Left, Elizabeth, Lila, Phoenicia, Elizabeth. Yes, Rochelle, left, absolutely. You know how these people know this answer if they haven't memorized it? They know it because they own a Materia medica, and they went through the Materia medica, went A, B, C, D, O, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, S, P, I, G, E, L, L, Spigelia. Okay, run the finger down, look at the medicine, and look at which side is the most likely side for the pain to be extraordinarily painful, requiring Spigelia. Okay, so... yeah, Veronica. Yeah, Authentic Health says left side. Yes, very good. Yes. Replying to Geraldine. Okay. Let's see. Does it work on pets? Does homeopathy work on pets? Let's hear from you, friends. Does homeopathy work on pets? Replying to that's an amazing doctor. Yes, it is an amazing doctor. A neurologist who said that. Does homeopathy work on pets? And if it did, would we use it in the same fashion? Absolutely, says Lila. Yes, says Harry. Yes, says Teresa. Exclamation point. Yes, for sure. Yes, absolutely. Yes, pets, absolutely. And livestock. How about wildlife? How about I've written about this on my blog where a bird came flying into our door, our glass door, and we picked him up and he was all crooked. His neck was crooked, and we started to administer arnica to him, and within short order he was fine, and he left our terrace. Yes, for sure. I've got a pet story, says Donna. Works on all living things. Thank you, Tina. That's really well put. So it's wildlife, it's pets, it's livestock, it's plants. It's and everything is the same, my friends. The same number of pills, generally speaking. Same number of pills, same application, same potency, same frequency. Absolutely. It's all the same. Yes. If the pet had a plant, it would work on that too. It's great for plants, even. Harry, that's great. Yep, my daughter just treated constipated kittens with Nux vomica. You bet. How about newborns? Does homeopathy work for newborns? How about women who are pregnant? Can we use homeopathy for women who are pregnant? Can we use homeopathy for elderly people who are unconscious and maybe close to the end, and 99 years old? Can we use it for them? Pets, plants, people. Do we use the same potency, the same frequencies when we're using protocols? Yes, yep, says Pam. Absolutely. Let's go through some more med remedies, okay? Or pain remedies. Okay. I want to point out that when you don't know, and the pain, you really don't have that information. You don't have the information that it's worse on movements or it's from an injury. The person's just in pain. Perhaps, maybe it's not a person. Maybe it's a dog, and the dog is shaking. Because that's what that means generally. When the dog is shaking, the dog is in pain. You don't know what it is, but you know it's extraordinary. The dog maybe even be crying, panting, really, really horrible pain. You can tell the dog is in a lot of pain. Now we go to the intolerable pain section, and we look at these medicines. Bryonia, these are the top ones. Well, I'll read them all to you. It's aconite, arsenicum, aurum. Bryonia is bold, carcinosin. Chamomilla is bold, colocynthis is bold, coffea is bold, then heparself, nux vomica, and symphytum. We're going to look at, let's say the dog is restless, really just can't stop moving, wiggling, moving around, but in so much pain. But you don't know what the pain is. You don't know where it's coming from. You're going to use something like coffea. Why would you use coffea? Because it's one of the intolerable pain remedies. And think of coffee. What does coffee do? It makes people restless. So if they have restless pain and the pain is intolerable, we're going to use coffea. What potency? We're going to start with all the 200s. Yeah, we could also think of arsenicum. That's another good one. Now, the reason I didn't choose arsenicum right away, although I think you're right, Fernisha, is because it's the next level down. Coffea is a bigger, more important medicine, so we're going to start with the medicines that are the most important. How do we know they're most important? Because they're bold and capped, or they're bold, capped, and underlined. And arsenicum is not bold or capped, but coffea is. Now let's talk about what if it's menstrual cramps? Terrible, terrible menstrual cramps. And we think the most when we think about menstrual cramps, think about what a naturopath would suggest. A naturopath would say something like, "Well, that she's missing magnesium. She doesn't have enough magnesium in her system. She's not taking magnesium." And I am not a proponent of taking minerals. I think we should be eating foods that have our minerals. Now, I understand that's not going to work for everyone. We have some people who are not willing to eat. They're not going to eat meat, for example. But let's just say for optimal health, I believe that the best thing to do is to not take vitamins and supplements, generally speaking. I mean, there are those few exceptions, but generally speaking. Now we're going to be talking about perhaps mag-phos, magnesium phosphoricum, and when we look at it from a naturopathic point of view, the person's going to be actually taking magnesium in gross form. But in homeopathic form, we're going to be using it as mag-phos 6X or mag-phos 30X or 30C. We might use it in even higher than that, but you know that if you've followed me for any length of time, you know how I feel about mag-phos. I call it mug-phos because it's a great medicine when we put it in a mug of hot water. Mug-phos 6X or 6C or 30X or 30C, and you put 5 pills into a mug of water that's hot. Let it stir it once or a couple times, stir it a few times, allow it to dissolve, and then the person takes a sip every few seconds, every, 10 seconds. And every sip is a dose. So if the young woman is experiencing menstrual pains, you're going to have her take this. And more often than not, it's not the only medicine we can use, and it's not the only one that does the trick. We might have to go to something else. But let me also say that it's a good place to start, particularly if the person is doing this. She's bent over, she's pressing her arms, or she's got a hot water bottle against her abdomen. If she's pressing with heat, it's very likely mag phos. Now, we can use mag phos for other conditions. It can be used for kidney pain, where the pain is not relieved, but the person is asking us, please get a hot water bottle and press it up against my back for kidney pain. Or maybe it's not even kidney pain. We don't have to know necessarily what it is in order to use mag phos. It can be useful to know what the condition is, my friends, but sometimes we don't need to know, or sometimes we'll never know. Okay, let's see what people are saying. My daughter and I used that, and our cramps have progressively lessened each month. That's right, Janice. You're absolutely right. My 5-year-old son broke his leg, and I had hypericum on hand. He fell asleep on the way to the hospital, and I don't think the doctors believed his leg was even broken at all, because he was calm as a cucumber. Okay, let's go to hypericum. Now, interestingly, when we look at intolerable pain, we don't see hypericum here. Who would think? But it is for intolerable pain. It is for especially injuries, such as broken bones. Hypericum, nerve pain and broken bones. So when fingers have been caught in a door, nerve-rich area, or the person lands on their tailbone, nerve-rich area. The coccyx is a very sensitive place, nerve-rich area. We're thinking hypericum. If the toes, if a scooter runs over your toes, or anything runs over, you have broken toes or injured toes, that's also a very nerve-rich area. We're going to be thinking of hypericum 200 or maybe even higher. Let's just see what else we've got here. My daughter, okay, good. Replying to Geraldine. Okay, every sip is a dose. My doctor uses belladonna. Belladonna. Let's talk about belladonna, shall we? Belladonna is for that excruciating ear infection or ear pain. May not even be an infection. We don't necessarily even know if it's an infection or not, but belladonna is amazing. And it is for an extreme pain. It's also great for teething. If chamomilla doesn't act, we could perhaps use chamomilla and belladonna simultaneously. Belladonna is an excellent one. Okay. Veronique says, very pretty name. Simisafuga 200 every 15 minutes works wonders for me. For what, Veronique? Simisafuga, I've used it and I've written about it for my father's, write this down, friends, for my father's angina. And it was downright miraculous. It was something that was so profound. It's what turned my father around regarding homeopathy. My father did not believe in it. He did not hold it in any regard until I gave him Simisafuga for his angina. And it completely turned his whole world around. And from that time forward, it was only, I think I used only a 30. From that time forward, he started to read my blog. And a couple of books that my mother had on hand. And he started to treat my mother and his neighbors and his musician friends. It was Simisafuga was 30, as needed for his angina. It was a miracle. My mother had a compression fracture in her spine that sent her to the ER. Morphine didn't really touch it, and they sent her home. I gave her Hypericum 10M, and within 30 seconds, the pain faded away, and she was pain-free. She continued using it while she healed from the compression fracture. Nice job. Now, we're going to use that for the pain. But for those of you who know a little bit more about homeopathy, we're going to use even more for a fracture. We're going to add another medicine, a homeopathic medicine that is gobsmacking for finishing off a broken bone concern. And I always say that I don't want you to, anytime you use this next medicine, we're going to start hearing from you all, because many of you know, you've been in my academy or you've taken my gateway courses and you know the answers. So when we use this other medicine, Symphytum, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Pat. Yes, from Grand Rapids. Yes, Susie B. Symphytum and Calc Phos, the combination. I like Symphytum. I've always loved Symphytum for this, but mixed with Calc Phos, it's even more efficacious. So we're going to use that once it is determined that the bone is in the proper place, because symphytum knits the bone so quickly, unexpectedly, that it's not uncommon for it to knit the bone, and the bone may have moved out of place before it was knit, and now it's fusing without being in the proper place. So make sure it's in the proper place and that it's settled there for at least some period of time, depending on what bone it is, etc. And then you start employing symphytum 200 mixed with calc-phos 3. Yes, okay. Yes, Elizabeth says symphytum worked wonders for my mother's fractured rib. Yes, I tell a story about a man who was brought to me by his daughter. His daughter was a Weston A. Price Foundation leader, and she had been making bone stocks for years, high quality, made them from her own chickens. She got raw milk, made yogurt and kefir from it, gave it all of this to her father. He had a broken tibia for over a year when I first saw him. He was in his 70s. It was a long time ago. Pretty sure he was in his mid-70s. Nothing was fusing this bone. He just couldn't get there. So it was not a nutritional issue. And at that time, I did not use symphytum mixed with calc-phos. I used only symphytum all by itself. And it worked within a very short period of time. Over a year, it was not fusing. And then within, I want to say, I don't really remember so well now. I'm going to say about a month or so, maybe 6 weeks, it fused for the first time after all that time. Let's see what else everyone else is saying. Okay. Well, I'm about to go to my Mighties, and in the Mighties I'll be answering more questions. We'll be talking on this topic, so we'll stay with that. If you didn't get the names of the remedies I mentioned, just go back and watch this again, my friends. It'll be up probably later tonight or tomorrow morning. Symphytum. Yes, you're right. Pain for the tongue when person had surgery due to benign tumor. So, surgical pain, friends. Surgical pain. See what everybody says about surgical pain. I mean, certainly, can hypericum help? It could be considered. Surgical pain. Let's see what you've got here. I'm going to give the answer if I don't see it coming in. Yeah, surgical pain. What is the remedy that we use when somebody has had Staphysagria? Thank you, Tara. Thank you. Staphysagria. Yes, Authentic Health. Staphysagria is the remedy that we use. Yes. Staphysagria for surgical pain. Now, I also have to say, friends, it's not the only one. We could also use arnica. We could also use hypericum. It kind of depends. You start with Staphysagria. If it doesn't act well enough, you keep going. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Nice job. Very nice job. Okay, my friends, I'm going to dash off and go to my Mighties. And Perry, you're going to let me know, right, when we're ready to go to Mighties?